Hello, healed listeners. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited. I'm here with Caroline Irvin. Welcome, Caroline.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
We are so thankful that you are willing to come share your story with us. So before we get started, I just want to give a disclaimer that Caroline nor myself are nurses or doctors. We do not diagnose or treat or cure any illnesses on this program. But I also do want to let you know that this is for you. The purpose of this podcast is to raise awareness about natural health alternatives and to give people hope that there is a better life and more health out there for them. So today we're going to be talking about Caroline's daughter, Eleanor, and her issues with some food allergies. So before we get into that, Caroline grew up in Atlanta. She was an Alabama girl during her college years and now lives in Knoxville, Tennessee. She is a wife and mom to 2 children, and she works part-time with Greater Things Ministry as an event coordinator. And that's a women's ministry, and we will post the link to that in the comments or in the post. So thank you for being here. Tell us about Eleanor as a baby.
Eleanor was born in September of 2013 and I had a super easy pregnancy. She was a healthy baby girl, and after a couple weeks of being with us, we started to see a quick change in her, and she was very, very colicky. And I would say the first year was a very, very difficult year with her. Constantly crying, daytime, nighttime, just really always seemed to be uncomfortable. And I tried to take a couple things out of my diet for just a little bit, but was told that that probably wasn't the issue. And so she was put on some anti-reflux medicine, and it helped a little bit, but not a lot. And that was just the first year.
And then what happened after that? Because her health issues, even though I don't think colic is considered a health issue per se, although every mom I know who's had a colicky baby would disagree with that.
Yes.
But tell us what happened after that. How did that progress?
So when she turned 1, a big thing I started to notice was some red little circles under her eyes. We had actually tried to schedule some family photos, and I kind of kept waiting for them to go away, and they weren't. And then I started to see an increase in the creases of her arms and her legs became very, very red, and she just became very, very itchy and uncomfortable. And she was diagnosed at that point with eczema, to the point that it was clawing, itchy skin. No matter winter, summer, spring, fall, she was in long sleeves and long pants and just absolutely miserable.
Now, did it continue to progress?
It did. It just continued to get worse, and we weren't really sure exactly where to turn, to be honest.
So I know you took her to the doctor, and what happened there?
So we started with our pediatrician, who was wonderful and we absolutely adored. He had seen my son, but as we went, we just kind of saw that maybe this wasn't a specialty area. So we were actually referred to an allergist, where we went, and she got a skin prick and also a blood test just to really confirm and see what her allergies were. And it was so interesting because it came back that she had none. And I even knew at the time that she wasn't able to consume cow's milk, because if she did, anything she ate or different things would present itself in a very redness around her mouth or around those areas, the arms and the legs. So the allergist didn't really give us any answers. We had a family friend that was a pediatrician that we were in a life group with, and he actually called and got me into the only pediatric dermatologist in town at the time. there was a 6-month waiting list, and the Lord flung open the door for me to be in there 2 weeks later, which was really a miracle. And
Yes.
at that point, it was very interesting. We got a lot of information that was helpful, just kind of to understand her skin a little bit, but we were also given a steroid and told, use this steroid. This will help ease the pain and the discomfort. But something even that my husband reminded me recently was, don't you remember them saying we probably won't see a difference in her until the age of 6 and between the age of 6 and 9. And I just remember looking at each other and thinking, we can't live like we're living right now for 4, 5, 6, 7 more years, because no one was sleeping. Her arms and her legs, she would scratch to the point of just bleeding. And so that was the pediatric
Poor
dermatologist.
thing.
Yes. And so then at that point, we kind of were like, I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do next.
So was she having any like tummy issues or just the skin, mostly skin issues?
It was just the skin. If she would eat certain things, you would see it present itself really first on her, around her mouth. You would see the red flare up. So you would almost know, get that out of her mouth, stop. There was never anything that was anaphylactic. But then you would start to see, usually after she ate something, it would almost take a day or two in her system to then present itself with itching all over her arms, all over her legs. But no, it wasn't, she wasn't having any stomach issues.
Okay. And so in 6 or 7 years, they thought she would outgrow these allergies?
That was the hope.
Okay. Okay. I'll just comment. I don't know about that hope because my daughter had a similar story and developed more allergies as she got older in life. So,
interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of, anyway, maybe people outgrow it. I don't know. So about 8% of children deal with food allergies in our country, so 1 out of 13. And I looked up some stuff about like food dyes and things like that. Did Eleanor have an issue with food dyes as well?
That was definitely something. We actually kind of started to look at annatto. Anything that had like annatto coloring, which I know isn't like on the red blue scale, but that was kind of where we started. But then we really did notice anything that had food coloring was also a trigger for her, which I had never heard of except for one other child that we knew that had an issue with it.
Well, in doing a little research, there's not any causation studies showing that food dyes cause any illness or sensitivities or allergies. But it's so funny because I'm a school teacher. And so I see all the kids that can't have red 40, they can't have yellow, so what I see is a lot different from what the research shows. So anyway, moving forward, you saw that what you were doing, that was getting 6 or 7 years out of a life like you were living was not acceptable. So,
not real living. It wasn't real living.
So how did you find out, how did you come to do something else? Like how did you?
We were really at the end of our rope at that point. We just weren't really sure where else to turn because all I had ever known was modern medicine. And just, you had your whole list of doctors. Well, what happens when you get to the end of that list and you're still just sitting here with really, really big question marks? And we had a family that we attended church with at the time who were just dear, dear friends. And I remember one day she said, I'd love to tell you a little bit about our journey. And they had a little boy that just needed some extra attention and needed really something besides just modern medicine, needed somewhere else to go just to get some help. And she was a nurse practitioner. And so I thought, if she's going somewhere else, this really sounds legit. So she introduced me to a wellness doctor. This is a concept I had no idea about. I'd never heard of nutrition response testing before. But the wellness doctor that she was telling me about, she said, I really think that they could help Eleanor really be able to pinpoint and give her some relief into what she's dealing with.
Mm-hmm. And so for those of you who may not know, nutritional response testing is a muscle test. It's just a reflex. You can, and there's lots of different ways to do it, but you can hold out your arm and press on it. And if you have a body system, it's not the muscle. If you have a body system that's weak, then you'll have a weak response. You won't be able to hold your arm up. But if your body system is strong, your reflex pops in and they can't push your arm down, and you're not even trying that hard to keep it up. So it's like a reflex, kind of like when the doctor hits your knee and it kicks. So, yeah. Okay, so you went to this wellness doctor, and what did you find out there?
I can still remember the day that my husband and I walked in the office with our little girl, having absolutely no idea what was about to happen, and sat there, and they started testing her just as you beautifully described. And I just remember her turning around and saying, I think that milk is an issue. I think that wheat is an issue. And I definitely think that food coloring is an issue. And for the very first time, I didn't feel crazy. I felt like I was being heard, and I felt like all the things that had been going on in my gut, knowing something else is not right, were valid, and they were real. And one of the things about this wellness doctor is her granddaughter suffers from a lot of the same allergies. So it was really helpful to already be able to have very easy conversations with how we could help our daughter moving forward.
So she did the testing, you found out what she was sensitive to, and then what was the treatment?
So immediately we started some supplements, because basically Eleanor's gut and immune system were almost just flip-flopped. They were not as they were supposed to. They were working in overdrive. So the supplements were to start helping just flesh out. She had so much yeast overgrowth, and just to kind of detox her gut. But we also were encouraged, obviously, to radically change her diet, take out really a lot of the stuff that she was eating that she didn't need to be eating. And at the same time, we also were given the opportunity to see a nutritionist. And we saw her just once or twice, and she was able to help give us a list of, okay, if your wellness doctor has said maybe stay away from this, this is a list of don'ts, and this is a list of do eat these things. And so really taking all the things out of her diet that she'd been eating, and now replacing them with meats, vegetables, fruit, is where we really started to see a difference.
So I'm just going to summarize a little bit. So you did something to help cleanse out what shouldn't have been in there, the things that were causing the issue. You changed her diet to more of a whole food, paleo, clean eating diet. And I'm sure you got some supplements to support her gut health. Yes. And what happened? Did that help? Was that helpful?
You know, it really was. And I think the thing that shocked us was it took about 4 to 6 weeks to really see a difference. I was waiting for something a little bit more immediate, but then I really learned through the process that think of the years and years that you've been putting something in your body that your body does not want. It takes a while for that to really start to come out. And so in about 4 to 6 weeks, I think the thing that shocked us the most was that we really started to radically see a change in her personality. And I really feel like we met our daughter for the first time, because she was more joyful and just so much more happy and alive. And you just really saw her come to life because she felt better.
Yes. It's amazing how we can accept some of those things as a personality.
Right.
And the child is just actually uncomfortable.
Right.
So 4 to 6 weeks, you started seeing results. And how did that progress? Like, was her skin, you said her skin had been a big issue, and did that clear up in 4 to 6 weeks as well?
So I'll be very honest. It's actually taken, it has taken some time. You know, we started to see really, really small results. Like I said, first with her personality, we did start to see her skin clear up a little bit. We also were given, through a friend that's a pediatrician, again, some more natural remedies when her skin did flare up, because there were still things that we were trying to work through and trying to detox. And so there is a company called Ad Rescue Wear, and they have a lot of eczema products that you can wear on your skin. And we did more wet wrapping. And so her skin did improve. There still was a lot of trouble with it. It's actually continued to take years just for that to heal and for that to get better. But, you know, each day, each month, each week, we had somebody that was able to walk with us. She was sleeping through the night. She was able to wear a t-shirt and shorts. She was able to go swimming. There were things that before weren't even an option that were now an option to be able to navigate and have a much more normal life.
And I'm sure as a family unit, that's, you know, how do you deal with that when you have one child that wants to go swimming and one that can't? And like, that's really, what a struggle. That's really a struggle, a hard thing to do. So you would say her quality of life changed dramatically?
Yes, I would, drastically. I felt hopeful. There was hope. And I think she felt hopeful. And I think even for her to understand it wasn't her fault. She wasn't doing anything wrong. You know, even as a mom, I had to really pray through and ask the Lord to help me not feel guilt for the food that we had given her, not knowing. But there was so much improvement, and just for her to understand to eat this is better, and look at how you feel when you eat differently and we do different things, that yes, there can be great improvement. And we didn't feel as isolated. That's the word that I would describe a lot of our journey, even sometimes still, is when you have food allergies, it can be a very isolating way to live sometimes. You can't just go out to eat anywhere. You can't just show up at a party and not think things through. But I felt like I was given tools and resources, and now how to have an alternative, now to have a plan B and not just sit at home and not do those things. But now we were able to be apart, but just do it a little differently and a little bit healthier.
Yes, which is better in the long run anyways.
It is.
So I want to ask you, well, and I want to take a minute just to say that, you know, in modern medicine, we take a pill and our symptom might be alleviated temporarily. So I hear in your journey, I hear you saying it's harder than that. It's work. It's not that easy. It's simple, but it's not that easy. So, and it takes a little longer. So I feel like anybody listening to this needs to know that that's what you can expect. This is not a quick fix. This is truly a healing process, and you don't get sick in a day, and you don't get well in a day. Okay, Caroline, what would you say as we get ready to wrap up? What would you say to other people who either have a child who are suffering with the same kinds of things, or an adult suffering with the same kind of things, or just another mom who has a sick baby and no answers? Like, what would you tell our listeners?
I think the biggest thing that I would say is go with your gut. When the Holy Spirit is speaking really loud, listen to that voice, because I know as a mom, there were so many things, even starting from the very beginning with her. I can't go back. I would have done things so differently. I would have asked harder questions. I would have pressed more. I would have stood up for my daughter, and I would have fought harder. And I think if anything, that's what this journey has really taught myself and my husband is you got to fight and you have to find your voice and don't settle. If you know that there is still something wrong, try to really ask the Lord to show you what is the root of it. What is the root of what's causing? And ask friends, ask people to pray for you, surround yourself with people, dive into finding out as much information as you can. Yes, I have had so many people walk alongside us. I have an incredible wellness doctor. We even go to a chiropractor now who's done amazing things. But I also have learned I have to be a part of the journey. I can't let other people do the work. I have to give the time, but also just to truly surrender to the Lord, because He will bring people alongside you, almost like a village, to help
Yes.
with this, and will really truly give you the freedom, because we weren't intended to live that way. We're called to live an abundant life, and
yes.
just don't stop, don't settle.
Yes, we have so much faith in modern medicine, and it's great for emergent care. It really is. But we have to look to God as our healer. And when we do that, He paves the path and puts the people in it that we need. And He has more. So I love that. So just don't settle, especially when you know there's more. Don't settle. So I want to thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. So I really appreciate you, Caroline. Your story is gonna give a lot of other people hope and courage to step out of their box and try something that might be a little different to them. So thank you so much.
I hope so. Thank you for the opportunity. So much of this journey is just giving the Lord glory and praise, and the song Ever Be On My Lips by Bethel Music is what just rings true, is that we want His praise to ever be on our lips, because He has truly brought us to a different place. And I want other people to be able to find that joy and that healing, because it is there. So thank you for just the opportunity to share what the Lord has done in our lives, so that I hope that He can transform someone else's the same way.
Well, you are very welcome. And for my listeners, if you are out there struggling, you can go to my website. That's a way that you can get in touch with me. It's www.missrobindenton.com. That's msrobindenton.com. And I would be more than happy to try to connect you with someone in your area who can offer some real hope and some real solutions, because there is an abundant life out there for all of us. So thank you for listening, and we will see or talk to you next Tuesday. Thank you.
Thanks.